we are back. We returned from the Shadow Realm. Wait, no, that was last week's episode. What's up, everyone? This is Earth 894, a Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. We are the guys who bring you the latest Marvel news, reviews, do some commentary, and if it was like last week, we did a full review of Thor Love and Thunder, a very divisive film, first one in a long time since maybe Thor the Dark World and Eternals. Go check it out if you haven't already. But in this episode, we're actually going to be wrapping up the series Ms. Marvel, episodes 5 and 6, and talk about what is in store in the future. My name is Devin Stone. I'm one of the co-hosts of this glorious podcast, but I cannot do this show without my friend and never a foe, the man himself, Louis Tonarini. Tell the good people how it's going, man.
Everything's going good. I'm ready to review this show. I'm home alone till tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
I've been home alone all week and partially last week. So I've been trying to rewatch the show to very little success, but alas, here we are.
Nice, man. Well, I'm glad you were able to get some time to watch a little bit because there's a lot to talk about in what happened with this last episode and a half. Some stuff, good. Some stuff, questionable. Most stuff, okay. And we'll break it down in those different ways. So let's kick things into gear here, and let's actually talk about Ms. Marvel. Episodes 5 and episode 6. The show's over, and we got something pretty crazy. So, of course, before we go into this is going to be spoiler-filled. So if you guys have not watched at this point, apologize ahead of time, but just be careful. This is your warning right here until the end of the episode, because we're going to be talking spoilers the whole entire time.
Spoilers here.
Is that a spoiler?
I think I should.
Just give us a spoiler?
You kind of did. Cut
Spoiler
that
alert.
part out.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, well, now you know. Now you know. Sorry, Marvel. Whoops. That's out.
So, Ms. Marvel, Louis, you and I have been on record in these past episodes we've done reviewing it that we're kind of like lukewarm on it. And I want to just kind of start that off. With the show now being over, does your opinion is it still about the same about the show overall, or has it changed at all?
Yeah, I'm still pretty lukewarm. I've been watching it in order, just one after the other.
Mm-hmm.
Seems to be a little bit better that way. Like, I'm not forgetting stuff, and
Back to back.
yeah, I'm not forgetting anything. I'm paying attention. I'm not falling asleep. But there's like a lot of it just goes over my head just because I'm dumb and ignorant to what's going on in the world. So I had to ask a lot of questions to my lovely wife or my good friend Richard, who then explained to me the rift between Pakistan and India. Because once again, I am a damn fool. So
Not a fool, buddy.
oh yeah, definitely a fool. But that's okay. I was really shitty about her powers to make steps. Basically, that's all she uses it
It's
for,
like
is to make
cosmic
steps
crystal
or to,
stuff. Yeah.
or to slam doors. It's basically like Spidey powers, is what it feels like sometimes. And I guess when your only power is to like get giant fists and be stretchy, you got to have a little something else, you know? At least like Reed Richards is a genius and the leader of a team of a family, I guess, where she was just I probably sound like a damn fool to anybody who actually knows about Kamala Khan, but it seems like in the comics, she's just can get really big and her fists get ginormous. She starts thwacking stuff. And, I played a little bit of that video game with her in it, and that seems to be what her powers were. So
Just whacking people.
then when we get to the final thing, I will voice my opinion on that.
Fair enough, man. I have to say I'm kind of in the same boat where with this show, now that it's over, I feel like it started off okay and on a good foot, and then it just kind of not fell apart, but it lost sight of really what the point of the show is, and then all tries to like quickly tie it together in the very final episode, where I didn't really feel it connected to any of the characters at all, mainly just because we jumped around a lot. But at the same time, it's like it seems like they're really trying to shove what should have been maybe 8 or 9 episodes into 6, which just kind of shows. Now, on the power side, I'm kind of I have a theory that I'm going to come back to as we kind of talk about the final episode here. But part of me is still holding on to hope that that is not going to be how her powers are permanently. I have a theory I'm thinking of. So I'll get back to that later. Now, you mentioned like not knowing the history and everything. That is something I think that this and even Moon Knight have been doing well, is actually like educating people with historical uh events that you just might not actually learn about in high school. Or maybe it's just been so far removed since then that you don't even recollect it. So you're not dumb, you're not ignorant or anything. I too did not know too much about what was going on with like the train station and like the reason for like the migration, all like that sort of stuff. So one thing I do like is that Marvel's actually trying to like, put some cheese on your broccoli there and kind of feed you some information and make you learn as you're watching something. So
Cheese on
I
your
do
broccoli.
I do recommend I do respect them doing that. Now with yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say Nakia, Nax. Uh, Kamala calls her Nax. I thought she was saying Max. Anyway, she even says during history class or whatever, she goes, "Oh, we spent 2 weeks on British history and this, and 45 minutes on." Can't remember what she said, but like Middle Eastern history, like it just doesn't matter. So you just said, well, we didn't learn it in school. We probably spent 45 minutes on it and didn't actually learn anything.
Yeah, with like 2 pages in a history book probably.
And one thing that I picked up, excuse me, one thing I picked up on in this rewatch was at the beginning, she's wearing the bangle, and Bruno says that she didn't get the power from the bangle. She's had the power, but the bangle unlocked it, which I did not pick up on the first time, which makes sense for the ending of the show. Because I thought she just got the power from the bangle and she had to wear the bangle to have powers. But that seems to not be the case.
Well, no, it seems like the powers are only available for her to use when she has the bangle actually worn. Because that's also one thing that's confusing. She's always wearing it when she's actually using her powers. But on the other hand, after what happened in episode 5, where Kamran's mother actually sacrifices herself so he can actually have her powers and everything, and she closes the veil, and it's pretty much the big moment. He doesn't have any sort of like thing that he channels, like a physical item, but it could be different because his mom like did something very, very out of the ordinary and like transferred her powers over to him. Hence, maybe why he doesn't need it. But they almost have the identical power, just different colors. You know what I mean?
Classic Marvel trope. Same exact thing, but one of them is evil.
Evil. I don't even really know if he's evil. I'd say maybe just confused and misled.
Yeah, but one's an antagonist. Ever since the very first MCU movie.
Right. Episode 5. I think we talked a little bit about this on a different episode, or we chatted with someone about it. But, really the biggest takeaway for me personally for episode 5 was this could potentially be them shutting away Inhumans, because all the crystallization with the powers and just what happens to some of the clandestines when they try and go through, they literally like crystallize and then they just turn into bones. It's like, yo, did they just go through Terrigenesis, which is Inhumans? But the more I've read up on it and looked into it, it feels more like that actually is this. They mentioned earlier in the series that they come from a world of light and that like they don't look like how they should in our realm versus what they look like. So I don't think that's really them like dying. I think it's them going back and just like dropping off, spare baggage. They don't need those bones. They don't need this like the bodies. So they just leave it here because they just transfer into like light energy through the veil. So that could be what they're doing, but still it's so oddly specific to Inhuman stuff and like the Terrigenesis process that it feels too on the nose to ignore. So that's why I'm kind of like, what's going on here? You think there's anything else that was pretty big in episode 5?
You thought about that a lot more than I did, because to me, I just thought they died.
I mean, it seems like they died, but then
I
when I
just
think about it, I'm
thought they
like,
touched.
okay, maybe not.
I just thought they touched the veil or whatever, and then turned into like black bone thing, and then just rumbled to a deathly, excuse me, into a deathly death. I'll be honest. Episode 5's, I think it was super duper short, right?
It was definitely one of the shorter ones of the episode because a lot of it was just doing the flashback with her great grandmother and explaining kind of like where she came
that
from and
was
stuff.
the Aisha episode, right?
Yeah, for like the first like 20 minutes.
Yeah. That episode ends with Kamala saving her grandmother, right?
Right. So she was the one who actually saved her. So it's kind of this weird time traveling thing.
The bangle says the end is the beginning or something. What does the golden snitch say?
Oh, I don't even remember. That's funny. That is funny.
But it says like you only need me when you don't want me or something like that. And then Aisha says it, and then Kamala's there and she helps Grandma find Abu, or not Abu, but her dad. Sends her off to her dad, and turns out Kamala saved her grandmother in a weird time loop thing. Yeah, I did watch that. And as I was rewatching the show, I do have to say I did text Richard that they're talking about Aisha in the show, and she's like, "Oh, what happened to her?" And they're like, "She brought great shame upon our family. We don't talk about that woman." I was like, this lady literally got stabbed and died. And everybody's like, fuck her. Oh my God, this is so terrible. But that's kind of how it happened. And then in doing so, when Namja touches the veil, she says Kamran's name, and then he gets some powers. Then he goes to find Brian. And he uses his magic fist or whatever to hit a drone. And then Bruno says, "Oh, you've got powers too?" And that's how the episode ends.
Yep. And didn't they say Bruno lives with like his grandmother or something? Is she okay?
I believe, yeah, Nona.
Yeah, is she okay? Like they blew up his place.
Yeah, I
never
don't know.
seen her once. They never even cast her.
For what it's worth, in the first episode of the second episode, he Kamala's mom packs up food. There's a spicy one on the bottom for Nona. Oh, yeah, she's there somewhere.
This whole time she's just been sleeping. She's like, "Oh, did I miss anything? Where's Bruno?"
We don't talk about it.
Exactly. So with episode 6, this is where it really ties the whole show together, from actually figuring out what the DODC is going to do now that they know where some superpowered people are at, hunting them down and everything, and going through that whole kind of battle within a high school stuff. It was okay. A couple things that are interesting is that when they open up the episode and they try to show like Kamala is trying to like openly admit to her family that she is the light girl, or whatever that pseudonym for herself. And no one's surprised. They all know. So I thought it was kind of funny, because my favorite part of this whole show, when I think about it, has been her family, especially her like her dad and her mom and the brother, just because like they're funny. They are legit funny.
You just said her family, and then you said especially her mom, her dad, and her brother. I know. It was literally her family.
Well, that's excluding like her grandmother, her great grandmother, technically her great grandpa, her cousins, and then her
her
now
immediate
sister-in-law.
family.
Yeah,
Okay.
so those three.
I-
But fair, very fair.
that made me laugh. I really like Amir, her brother.
He's funny.
I looked him up. He's known for just being in this show. I wonder how old he is, because Iman Vellani, is that her name?
Yeah, she's
Miss Marvel's 19,
yeah, she's young.
something like
She
that.
came straight out of high school.
So I thought that this guy was going to be near our age, but I think Google said he was 35. Damn, he's old. He doesn't look that old.
That is funny. Yeah, well, how old is he? Can I find him? I'll have to find him somewhere. Yeah. I love her dad just because he's like so goofy, and also they're like one of the only like openly supportive parents now that she's like a superhero and everything, because it's like, oh my god, you're like super, it happened to you. But also I can't figure it out. I haven't gone back to really see if it's true or not. The whole beginning of the series, the problem is that Kamala finds a bangle going through the box that like the grandmother sent over, and then her mom was like, "No, no, just like leave it alone, don't touch it." So like, oh no, mom knows what's up with this. She knows it's bad, or just good things don't
She
happen.
said it was garbage or something like that.
Right. But did her mom actually know it grants powers, or did she only think it was like something to do with?
I genuinely have no idea what's going on.
'Cause that's why I'm like sort of surprised. I mean,
Like her mom, does her grandma have powers? Because she saw the train. They said it would only work
right.
to get to the other dimension if they had both bangles, but you only ever see the one bangle, and they never mentioned the second bangle. I don't know.
I wonder if it's a like a kind of a shitty way, but it's like a paradox because there are technically two bangles being used. They're the same one, but at different points in time. Maybe. I don't know. You bring up
That
a
makes
good point.
sense, man. I thought it was just the 10 rings was the bangle cut into 10 rings. I had no freaking clue, man.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, dude, I honestly
don't
know.
think that's what it is, but your guess was as good as mine.
So I don't know, because her mom is suddenly like totally okay and like happy that like Kamala is like a hero. And if that's the case, then a lot of this stuff could have been avoided in the very beginning. She wouldn't have ruined the wedding. She probably could have been more open about, hey, I have these powers from this thing I pulled from the box, and now there's people trying to hurt me. What do I do? But
Right?
I don't know.
All TV can be ended if people would just talk to each other. But that doesn't happen in TV.
Yeah, that's why it's called the drama.
Yeah, I don't know if like they know that the bangle is magic.
I mean, they have to at this point because they've seen her use the powers and almost wear it.
Hold on. In episode 6, Aisha gives the bangle to grandma, right? I can't remember what they call it to grandma. She gives her the bangle before she dies, right?
I'm talking about on the little at the train station.
In the train station, because that's how grandma has it. Then that's how, because otherwise, grandma would have had to pull it off of Aisha's corpse, and then they would just know that she was stabbed instead of ran away or whatever they thought happened.
I think that's what happened. Don't quote me on that though, because I don't remember off the top of my head. But I mean, I think it makes sense.
So, like, it begs the question: do they all have powers?
Well,
Or because it's in her blood or whatever? So, like, is her mom? Or
well, I don't think so, because Bruno says to her in the biggest reveal possible, which did not expect in this show. Bruno says, "Hey, I checked your DNA again, and compared it to your family's." Which also, why does he have her family's DNA? That's another question. But when he does that, he mentions that your DNA is different from the rest of your families. Now, I'm assuming that's probably at least immediate family. Um, so that means that her mom probably doesn't have whatever mutated gene she has, especially her dad. Dad doesn't.
yeah, because Amir wanted to see if he had powers. He kept bugging Bruno to check,
Gotcha.
and
Gotcha.
that's why he was looking. But
Okay, that makes sense now. I totally missed that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so she has it. Now, to get into my theory, since we're talking about like the whole gene and the power source thing, I was watching Kamala again as she's like turning into like the embiggen version of herself and like using her powers more in the final episode with the showdown with the DODC. If you look close enough, when she has like her arms stretched out, her arms are not physically stretched out. It's only the crystals or whatever this like cosmic power is. Because I was like, okay, if she's actually stretching, that's one thing, but this she's not. It's only the crystals doing the appearance as if she is. So, what begs the question, my theory is that because she is no longer in, well, she doesn't seem to be an inhuman. It seems like they're totally just scrapping inhumans, which, okay, whatever, fine. If she's a mutant, then that means her powers are still only being like available for her to use when she's holding or when she has um the bangle on. So that's the actual like that's the catalyst. That's the medium for it to actually be used. Now, I wonder if they're going to try and combine mutants coming out of nowhere in the process of how people get their powers activated through teragenesis in humans by having some sort of like big cosmic or like planetary event happen, kind of like an entire like EMP wave go throughout the entire planet that's going to act just like how the bangle does to give the powers for Kamala to use. That's going to happen and it's going to be permanent. Now, if you kind of remember with what happened in like the Avengers video game and some stuff in the comics, basically Tenor Genesis, that's what happens in like San Francisco. And all these Inhumans are now out because if you were in the blast radius, you now have the powers. Or if you have that like mutated gene or whatever, and if you don't, then you're I think that stuff happens to them actually. Yeah, because if you go through Terrigenesis and you're not inhuman, then you basically just die. So if that happens, that could be how they try and actually get the mutants into the MCU. From whatever it is, it's going to be something big, and it's going to cause it to all of a sudden be blasting out of nowhere. And I think the DODC is going to be the biggest organization against mutants. So that could be what they're trying to figure out with, like when we saw with the end of Shang-Chi, they said like, oh, it's putting like a beacon on. I think the beacon could be calling out to the like, original creators, whether that's Kree or someone else. That's going to call those people, and they're going to come to Earth, and then that's what's going to cause that big event, resulting in all these powers now becoming out into people being able to use them freely without having to have some sort of device on. So when that happens, Kamala's no longer going to have her powers as they appear today with the crystals. She's actually going to be just exactly like how we've seen her as an inhuman, because now it's not something being able to grant it. It's actually fully out. It's for her use, and she doesn't need that bangle anymore. So that's what I've been rattling around on second viewing of the episode. So we shall see.
I think they tried with the Inhumans. They failed, and they're moving on, personally.
And honestly, I think too many people just might get confused. They might be like, well, why is an inhuman practically a mutant? And why is a mutant basically an inhuman? And instead of trying to explain it and make it different. But my only hang up on that is because we've seen Black Bolt, King of the Inhumans, in Multiverse of Madness. So I don't know. So why we need answers on phase 4 and where the fuck it's supposed to be going. Because it's just opening more and more questions. If we're gonna get all these questions in phase 4 and then all of phase 5 is just answering those questions, that is a long payoff, my friend. I must admit.
Yeah. What did you think of Kamala doing the embiggen thing and just becoming ginormous and breaking the guns and
That was cool.
looking like the Kamala Khan that we know from the video games or the comic books, the
Yeah.
other stuff?
I thought it was pretty cool just to see her actually in that form. Especially if you're a fan of her, then you're finally getting a little bit of fan service here. And it's cool to see her not just do the same thing over and over again. It's cool to see her actually like in that larger kind of silly putty kind of physique. What did you think of it?
I liked it. You know, after a show full of stuff I didn't recognize. It was nice to get like a payoff, kind of. She was wearing the Kamala Khan or the Miss Marvel suit, the costume, whatever, the whole thing, and she just became big and started smacking people around. It was pretty cool. Although one thing I didn't love about the episode was the plan in the school where like Amir came and he's like, "Oh yeah, I used to go to this school." Or like what's her name? Tori?
It just shows up out of nowhere. Like, oh yeah, I'm here.
She's just like, "I've known the whole time." It's like, come on. Come on. Somebody has to not know, right?
And that's also an issue I have with the episode because she's just wearing a little mask on her face. She was by all the people she hangs out with all the time. You saw her family there rushing at the scene, trying to protect her with those other people. And then they had a little TikTok montage at the end of people saying, "Who is she? Who is she? Who is she?" Bitch, you all know it's super easy to know who she is. So I think that's the like most unbelievable thing. Like, who is this Miss Marvel girl? You practically see her jumping from her house all the time when she uses her power. So I think that's it's just silly.
Yeah, I agree. Did you notice that they played the X-Men theme song when Bruno told her she was a mutant?
I didn't catch it the first time, but then on second viewing, I was actually listening for it. And they kind of do it like it's almost a little bit more matching the music style they've used for her, right? That kind of synthy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel about it being the X-Men 90s animated theme?
It's one of the best theme songs in cartoon history. Can't complain.
Do you think they're actually trying to say that the animated X-Men is the one they're going to be pulling into the MCU, or do you think it's just the theme is so good that that's why they're using it?
That theme is so iconic that even when Charles Xavier rolled in Multiverse of Madness,
Right.
they're like, that's just synonymous with the X-Men.
Right, but he was in the yellow goofy looking chair that he was in the animated show.
Yeah, but that was just I think that's just so iconic. And that was a different Earth and all that other good stuff. I think if we get Charles Xavier, it's not going to be Patrick Stewart. It's not going to be James McAvoy. It's going to be you, Devin. You're going to be Charles Xavier.
Man, that sucks. I don't want to be
What?
bald. That's one of my
on.
like biggest fears is going bald.
Hate to break it to you, Devin, but people go bald.
I know. Believe me, I know.
Well, then you'll be Gambit.
You know, I really know nothing about Gambit other than they tried to do a Gambit movie with Channing Tatum. He started it and they killed that movie because it's probably going to suck.
Yeah. Poor guy.
Maybe one day. I bet he'll come. Honestly, I could totally see him being Gambit in the MCU at some point.
Well, when they axed the movie, he stopped watching superhero movies.
Yeah. I mean,
fell into a depression. He said, I'm not doing this anymore.
you know, honestly, I think that says a lot about him too, because he's been a pretty big actor, and then he kind of fell off for a little bit, but he's still in some stuff. Like he was in that Sandra Bullock movie recently that we should have seen instead of Morbius.
The Lost City.
Right? It's on Paramount Plus. I'm going to watch it one day. But I think it
already
says
did.
a lot when like you're so attached to a project, especially like that, and that it causes you to be like, I can't watch other stuff. It soured the taste to me, like the taste for me. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a handsome, jacked dude. I honestly gotta give him respect if he was that like excited and motivated to be the character that this is how it affects him. So kind of, I can sympathize for the guy.
Oh, well, back on track. Anyways, where do you rank Miss Marvel for your Phase 4 Disneyplus TV shows?
Oh, I'm going to put this at, no matter what if it's still going to be my very last. So this would be one step above that.
So you think this is the worst
Live action.
show?
So we have WandaVision, Hawkeye,
I would
Falcon,
have to agree with you.
Loki, Moon Knight, and Miss Marvel. So 6 live action, correct?
Sounds good to me.
So you said you were about the same?
Yeah, I would say this is the worst live action show.
Mhm.
It wasn't that it was bad. What If was bad. This just was not gripping to me.
It just felt so rushed. It's kind of a bummer because it had some good stuff. It had some really cool moments, but I mean, cohesively as a story, it just, like I said, it doesn't really stick in your mind. Like it's very forgettable, in my opinion. Other than just the fact that they made one of the biggest reveals in MCU with a mutant drop. Like that's when that I don't know. I really need to see how this plays out because I'm frustrated, but I'm also confused and I'm intrigued. So I don't really know how to fully describe that emotion. But other than just like, I really hope that this is, if this is the right way for them to do it, and if this is the right call by saying she's a mutant, going with that and sticking with it, that's a very bold move, and that has to be strategic. So I really hope whatever they have planned for actually incorporating the mutants fully into the MCU, I really hope this is a good payoff from this series finale. Then if not, I will
Now,
cry.
now we usually end the reviews by going, well, where do you think we're going to see this person next? What's next for Miss Marvel? What's next for so and so? But we did get a post-credit scene on the last episode where Miss Marvel is in her room and she's doing whatever, and the bangle starts to glow, and then she just apparates and she's gone, and then in comes Brie Larson's Captain Marvel, and she just looks around. She goes, "Oh no, oh no, no, no!" And then she runs away, and that's how it ends. So, um, what do you think's going on there?
I want to. The first thing I looked at when I rewatched was, is she wearing the other bangle or does she have it on her? Because whatever she did or whatever happened, I mean, they swapped places. So there has to be some reason why they swapped. So my guess is it's because of whatever technology is at play here with the bangle and the rings and whatever else. So the fact that she traded place with with Captain Marvel, that's what makes me think that more of these devices or these accessories, these power accessory items are Kree based because Captain Marvel had so much to do with the Krees and the Scrolls in her movie and talking about where she came from and all like that. So it makes sense. And if they're trying to tie in a little bit about the Inhuman like origin, well, that's all Kree. So that's what makes me think she has to have another one of the devices that's going to be revealed in the Marvels. Um, but I also think that it'll be hilarious because they're probably going to open up part of that movie with Carol Danvers walking downstairs, seeing the rest of like Kamala's family, and then having this like really funny commotion scene like, um, we got a problem. Hi, I'm Captain Marvel, and it'll just be funny and they'll probably interrupt her a lot. And I just want to see uh her dad just talk to her. He's like, I don't know who you are, but I recognize you from somewhere. Like something funny like that. It'd be so funny. So I think that'll be kind of exciting. But what's your take on that scene?
She's got something to do with the magical powers and this and that of the bangle and of the 10 rings, because the last time we saw her was in Shang-Chi, the end, where she said, "You can get my number from Bruce." Thought it was odd that she just said no, 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 and then walked like ran away. um i don't really I don't really know how they're gonna go on with this. I assume they're gonna take her. I assume they're all gonna meet up with Fury. Excuse
And
me.
Nick Fury,
And
Sam Jackson is doing Miss Marvel reshoots or the Marvels reshoots right now as we speak.
oh, there you
Hot
go.
dog.
I assume they're gonna meet up with him on his little space station that we saw at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home. Does that sound right? We know that Monica, yeah, Monica Rambeau is up there with him, or at least was on her way up there with him. the last time we saw her. So that's assuming that those are going to be the 3 Marvels. I don't know how exactly they're going to do that, but I assume the apparating will just bring Miss Marvel where she needs to go, and Captain Marvel is the most powerful being we have, so she's just going to like go outside and fly off.
Shoot up
and
there, yeah.
She'll just be there because that's what she can do. So, are you more, less, or about the same for the amount of excitement for the Marvels movie after seeing Miss Marvel?
Probably about the same.
Okay.
Yeah, I think probably about the same. How about you?
I wouldn't say less. I'd probably say about the same. I'm not like dying to see where this goes next, but I always love more stuff. But I once the hype starts building around it, I'll be more excited. But for right now, yeah, whatever. I'm more excited that got switched with Ant-Man and we can see Quantumania and see what's going on there instead of going straight into another Miss Marvel project. Go on.
And as we think about it too, so I'm pretty sure Miss Marvel, or I keep doing this, the Marvels, this is killing me. I think that's supposed to be coming out based off of what we have before Secret Invasion. So how I'm picturing this all unfolding in my head, wherever Carol was at, which I have a feeling maybe was in the middle of battle or something very serious. That's why she was like, "Oh, no, no, no," because she just like is not there anymore, and she's maybe swapped places with a poor kid and left that poor kid in the middle of danger or stranded somewhere. Who knows? Hopefully not space, outside of a ship. But if this is now, this is gets fishy because when does this take place compared to WandaVision and Multiverse of Madness? Because if Monica hasn't left Earth yet to go meet up with the person who wants to talk to her, which we know is Fury, that could be how Carol connects with Monica. They go meet up on Earth somehow, and then they go together to Fury's place in the Great Gig in the Sky, and then that's going to be where they ultimately find Kamala. Maybe Carol was already with Fury and some other people or some scrolls or something, so at least maybe Kamala isn't alone. But the first time they meet is definitely going to be in space. But that's what I'm thinking. So whatever happens in that movie, when it ends, that probably will have to set up for at least showing where Fury is going to be with Secret Invasion if it's happening chronologically right after those events. So yeah, that's kind of how I imagine at least the intro between all three starting. And you asked too, like, am I more excited? Am I less excited for this movie because of this show's wrapping up now? If I had to say what I'm excited for, it's more so for the mutation gene drop, talking about mutants. That's what's more interesting to me because that's a whole new catalog of iconic characters that are just waiting to make their MCU appearance versus we already know all these Marvel characters with Monica to Kamala. So it's not like there's a lot of like surprise there. The true surprise is what are you gonna do with these mutants? And that's what I want to know.
Hopefully they build on that more because it seems like she's already got something else set up here. And unless they bring more mutants in the Marvels, who knows? Who knows if that just gets ignored? That would be terrible.
Wouldn't be the first time. Now,
Right?
I wanted to talk a little bit about too. Bruno. Let's talk about Bruno.
We don't talk about it. So anyway, no.
So there's a kind of couple weird things with him. So when they're all splitting up, so he kind of walks in on Kamala and Kamran about to have that moment and have that kiss, but he interrupts it. But he's like, "Hey, you two get out of here." Right after that, that's when I'm pretty sure all the DC guys come rushing in. He's like, "Oh, hey, look at me!" Blah 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 blah. Instead of them doing something funny and quick, of like stopping him or whatever, they full on show him getting like nine off like guys is rushing. They like smack him with a gun or just they knock him hard and they like throw him up against the window to arrest him, and they're like lingering on that for a moment. It's totally overkill, over the top, way too many people for this just ordinary guy. And they're saying like, shut up, and stuff like that. I thought that was done with purpose because I think Bruno's going to become a villain down the road. He is trying to get this girl. She's totally ignoring him. He's trying to help her. He's very smart, and he's kind of locked away on his own, whether his parents died or kind of like imagine an anti Peter Parker, right? Brilliant kid, getting accepted into a really good school, living with um, not his parents because they're not around, and he's doing a lot of raising on his own. But in this case, he's not really getting, great power, great responsibility. He's getting a lot of showing like kindness and empathy and helping people more than he would himself, but he's not totally getting it in return. And he's feeling maybe tossed aside because that's why ultimately he does go to like Caltech and stuff. Now, Caltech, we see him wearing the hoodie, and they do that quick shot of him like putting an envelope, what I assume was Kamala's school locker. They do not address that. I thought we were going to get something in like the credits or something, but no idea what he's like wrote on the letter and what he gave to her. So I'm going to be so annoyed if they never bring that up. But it's probably going to be a long wait to that. But part of me feels like that's him saying like, hey, this is how I feel about you, or yada yada. But I mean, like 1 week goes by between then and when they're talking with the car, and then he tells her about the mutants. So if she hasn't seen or read it by that time, like what are they doing? So going back to my idea, him being a villain, I think he's going to go away, going to be on the West Coast, and I think he might potentially get recruited by Louis. Will you do me the honors of saying that woman's very long and unnecessary name?
Wolverine.
Got
No, Contessa Allegra. No, Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine.
Yes, I always think of allergy medicine because of the Allegra, but I think she's actually going to recruit him. I think he's going to be like the really brainiac sort of guy, or the tinkerer of the Thunderbolts.
We've already got a Tinkerer friend. Tinkerer was in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Oh, the dude doing all that stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
Tinkerer. Kamala Khan in the comic books, her first nemesis is a guy called the Inventor.
The Inventor. That's what I was trying to say. The Inventor.
I've learned this from listening to Mr. Marvel's Minutes podcast.
We went an hour and 3 minutes without shouting you out, Brian. New record.
Good friend of the show, Brian, Mr. Marvel's Minutes. I listened to his first few episodes about this show, and he does bring up that he thinks Bruno is going to become the Inventor and be a villain. So the jealousy might drive him a little mad. If I can't have you, nobody can. Something like that. And he invents the photon gloves that don't really do anything, but that's okay. He makes her mask. He's really good at airbrushing. So it is possible that Bruno does become a bad guy. I think it was a good thing that they didn't just make him a bad guy straight off the first time you see him, but he's done a lot to prove his loyalty and his dedication to Kamala. And, if he hits a breaking point or a tipping point or whatever, I think he very well could become a bad guy. But it's starting to be a trope that the young kids' best friends are becoming bad guys because, Ned's going to be real hobgoblin-y pretty soon here.
I really hope Ned is the only guy who, like a good friend becoming a villain, that I would probably be okay with. Just because we've seen him at Peter's side working together for 3 movies and some change. And that would be a very, very heart-wrenching battle, because I have a feeling it would not end up with everyone's okay and hunky-dory like a Bucky and Steve Rogers situation. I think Ned would have to die.
Ned was just watching porn.
Poor guy. Speaking of, weird transition. Bear with me.
Speaking of,
When they're at the car and Bruno's trying to tell Kamala about the genes. It's like, so I was thinking about it and I was looking at your like DNA and everything. And Kamala says like, Bruno, you can just call me if you're bored. I totally thought that was like, hey man, if you're like, feeling a little Peter tingle, you can like just call me, man. Just like
I don't
you don't have
think
to
that's
do
what
weird
that
stuff.
was.
I don't know. I interpret that joke with a dirty sense of mind. I'm sorry, but it totally felt like it was supposed to be a sexual innuendo. Like, hey man, if you're bored, just call me. Like, just because he's like looking. So I was looking at your DNA. So I just had to point that out.
No, I think that just meant like, hey, if you're so incredibly bored that you're doing DNA things, you can call me and we can just hang out. That's how I took it.
But also, that's also why I think he's going to be a villain. Not because he's like if I can't have you, blah, blah, blah. Not that trope. I think it's going to be because he's always there. Like you said, he's dedicated. He's shown he's a very helpful and careless person. No one is reciprocating it to him. When he goes to Caltech and everything for the summer, I bet no one's going to reach out to him. None of his friends are going to try and talk to him, especially Kamala won't, but that's because she got zapped away and she's in who knows where in the universe. So she kind of has an excuse, but all the other friends, I mean, they're just going to not talk about Bruno. So I think that's going to be really the loneliness and make him very vulnerable and then take on like trying to find a newfound family of misfits. And that might be the Thunderbolts. Or maybe West Coast Avengers and it turns out okay. I don't know. But that's my stick with him. He's too good of an actor to actually just end him after this show.
So yeah, that was Miss Marvel. Would you say you disliked it, or just like what I was saying, like it wasn't gripping. I didn't hate it. I didn't dislike it by any stretch of the imagination, but it wasn't just like I wasn't excited for each new episode.
Right. To me, it felt the same way when I wasn't really looking forward to other than the fact like, oh, there's something new to watch tomorrow morning. That's when I realized that the show just wasn't hitting it with me personally. Um, but by no means I agree. I don't think this is a horrible show. It does not deserve any sort of like total bashing, just saying it's trash or anything stupid like that. It just they tried something different and a little bit new, and it just for some people it resonates very well. For us, for me personally, it just doesn't hit as hard. I only really care about the key moments that just contribute to the overall narrative of the MCU at this point. Not so much like just like the smaller story side of this. But like I said, for other people, it will. And that's okay. And that's awesome. I'm really glad it does. How would you kind of look at it though? Do you have a same kind of similar frame of mind on it?
Yeah, for some of these shows, Loki, Hawkeye, those are my two favorites. It was like I couldn't wait for Wednesday. Need to know what happens. And this one, I was just like, oh, the biggest issue was Stranger Things was on at the same time as this.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff.
And Umbrella Academy and The Boys, and so it was like Wednesdays I had to not watch Stranger Things and watch this. And so I was just like, all right, let's just get this over with so we can watch Stranger Things tomorrow or whatever. And then on Fridays we'd watch The Boys, which was kind of the same but to a lesser degree. Stranger Things was phenomenal. So it was, now that I'm watching it on my own accord, it's a little bit better. Obviously it's the exact same show, but I'm not like waiting for it. And it's there. It is what it is. It was their first attempt at like a PG show. It wasn't gritty. It was like you went from gritty Moon Knight, beating the jackal thing in the first episode, to this show where she's like saving a kid whose favorite food is ice cream pizza. Blech. So yeah, I mean, I've watched all the episodes twice now, so at least I can say that.
That's fair. That's fun. One thing I do want to point out, just That was funny as heck. You mentioned the kid with the ice cream pizza and everything. When they do that little like TikTok montage at the end, one of my favorite characters in the whole damn show, he is hilarious, was Sheik Abdullah, I'm pretty sure, who was like the
The Euro guy?
no, he wasn't the Euro guy. He was like the head,
The head of the mosque?
yeah, head of the mosque, where
Okay.
he's talking about like even on his own TikTok, he's like, "Oh, looks like I've become a hot dog. I hope I'm halal," or whatever he say.
Yeah.
It cracked me up. I just thought he was hilarious, and he's like, "Everyone come over and to celebrate, we're giving free ice cream pizza for everyone. After this, of course, blah blah blah." Like I thought it was just funny just hearing him talk, and that character actually warmed up on me. Like I warmed up to that character as saw him on. He was very funny. Even that kid was like, "Yo, I was a prototype, so like I wish your powers worked when I didn't break my leg, but hey, man, I'm glad it worked out. You still saved me." So it was some kind of fun seeing those kids like talk about him.
Silly ass show. All right. We got some shout outs. What do you think?
Yes, you are right. We do.
We haven't done the last
a shout out.
2. I don't think we've done the last 2 weeks.
No, I haven't done the last 2 weeks, so we'll.
So
pull those up.
I've got it pulled up. I will let you get a chance. I'll read whatever while you
Very good.
get a chance here. In Iron Man 2, what number is on Tony Stark's race car in the Monaco Grand Prix? Is it 22, 14, 11, or 8?
And now let me explain the significance of every single number. There is none. Moving forward.
The correct answer was 11. Very mixed bag here. Sometimes it's very unanimous with a couple
Mhm.
stragglers. This one,
Number
people
stuff is
did-
usually pretty tricky.
people just didn't know. Did you put yeah, you did. You put the answer after it for this one. So that's the only reason I got it right.
The truth comes out.
Yeah. You put the answer on this week's too, and I still got it wrong. So
I'm doing it. I think it's kind of fun to see it like in action. Like, what is the actual answer? Visually seeing it, I think it's kind of cool.
So shout outs for the correct answer, number 11, to Wolf Road Band.
Hey, those guys. I know them. Jonah Jorgensen.
Dogen von Streich. Ravi Kant.
NYC A9.
Puffy Tortilla.
Mr. Marvel Minutes.
Jabs.
And Artillery.
I'm just going to call him Jabs since
There you
we're
go.
friends now.
Alrighty. And then we had a question from a couple days ago. So in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, who from the Illuminati is the third member defeated by Wanda? Excuse me.
Your answers are Black Bolt, Mr. Fantastic, Captain Marvel, or Captain Carter.
Now, Louis, did you know this one right
Ooh.
away?
I did. I got it wrong. I thought
got it
Captain
wrong.
Carter. I thought Captain Carter was the last one. The last one.
So that's why I chose the third one, because Captain Marvel is the third person to attack. She
I got
does
it
a little power thing
wrong,
and
'cause
shoots her
read
through the
it
wall.
wrong.
Yeah, she shoots her through the wall. And then Captain Carter and Wanda fight. Carter dies. And then Marvel comes up out of nowhere, and then she dies. So that's why. Plus the Captain, I think, is a little bit of a trick.
See, I said Captain Marvel.
But do you mean to
'Cause-
choose Captain Carter?
No, I thought it was who was the last person to die.
It's Captain Marvel.
Yeah, that's what I think. Maybe that's what I was thinking. Who fucking knows? I got it wrong. I'm a dummy. That's what happened. Shout out to Taha Asim. Taha Asim.
There you go. Then we have Skylar Ricketts,
Nerd Dose Podcast.
Sean Jr. 94,
Wind On.
Vote Me for God,
Team Unicorn Podcast.
NYC 89,
Regular Ryan.
Pixie Dust Sammy,
Mr. Marvel's Minutes.
Notoriously Nerdy Pod,
And Artillery. Artillery.
Yeah, I don't think that's artillery, so we apologize. So let us know how to actually properly say your username. It'd be great.
Artillery.
Oh god, I dropped something. I don't know what that was. Oh, I dropped the
sounded like
microphone.
a
I dropped the
guitar.
microphone, ironically. I dropped the mic unironically. That's what happened. I dropped the mic.
Drop the
by
mic.
Kicking it. Let's put that piece of trash where it belongs. So, Louis, before we wrap up, we alluded at the very beginning of this episode, we wanted to talk about something that we're going to be dropping soon.
Dropping like your mic?
Yeah, just like that mic. And that was the hint. What we're dropping is I don't know where my drum roll's at. We're going to have a new updated God of Hammers merch design coming to the official Earth 894 podcast store. You may have seen it if you follow us on Instagram. It's also on our website, Earth 894 podcast/store. So go check it out. We're going to have this new design where if you have seen Thor Love and Thunder, you'll recognize a certain scene that is very risque for
too hard.
Exactly. Mr. Thor himself. But we do see on his back, he's got a lot of tattoos that they unfortunately cut from the movie, from how he got them, or like scenes of him getting them, which I really wish we saw. But if you want to have those sick back tats like Thor does, we're putting it on our shirt. So our God of Hammers, which has the Earth 894 insignia, as well as Stormbreaker and Mjolnir, that'll be on the front, and on the back, you got the tattoos. So definitely go check that out. It's going to be in the store, and we are excited to launch that. Thank you so much to our favorite artist of all time, who does everything for this podcast, from our logo to our back tattoos now, Emily Sweetart. Go check her out on Instagram and everything. She does fantastic stuff. So we got that dropping. It's going to be cool. I'm going to order one. I can't wait to order one. It's going to be so good. So we'll have a sale on that.
Samesies.
Sorry, Lou. I feel like I took all that away.
Oh, that's fine. Thank you for joining us today for our Miss Marvel review. We'll be back next week with something we'll have to plan. Sucks when stuff isn't just out all the time.
Right. Well, we have 4 weeks until She-Hulk comes out now. I was doing the math earlier.
I Am Groot is coming, Devin.
Oh my God. So we're going to do an entire series review of I Am Groot.
Yes. Yeah. So join us next week. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Discord. We're on Discord, Facebook, if you want. We have a website at www.earth894podcast.com. Correct?
Correct.
Yep. So
Everything's in the show
follow
notes.
us there. Go on our Slack channel. Seriously, check out our Slack channel.
You had to bring it up.
Yeah. Give us a rating. Give us 5 stars.
Give us 5 stars. And you know what? So I want to make sure we say before we go, though, we were recently guests, Louie and I, on the Fan Club podcast, where we got to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy. Forgot to bring it up during MCU for you. So that episode is already out right now. We'll have an episode link for it in our show notes for this week's episode itself. Go check it out. We had a great time talking with them over there. It was really nice to talk about just a movie that we love, and not something like episodic or like doing a review in a timely manner, time-sensitive thing. So it's really good to kind of go back into phase 2 and just relive that glory. And we talked about some really fun stuff there. So go check it out.
And as always, thank you for joining us today here at Earth 894. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Looks like I am now a hot dog. Let's hope this hot dog is halal.